Hello, everybody. If it's Wednesday and the middle of the day and completely random in what's going on, then it must be Warhammer Weekly and I must be in a hotel again. So it's just me this week, no one else, because I didn't know exactly when I was going to be able to do this show. But, we're going to keep it simple today. I'm watching the chat. Hopefully, everybody's here and it'll be loading up and you can see me okay. So we'll keep an eye on what's going on there. But yeah, all in all, certainly going to be a full week. Lots of stuff to talk about. As far as we're going to stick mostly to just AOS 4 news. We'll keep this relatively constrained today as far as the time goes for the show. But hopefully everybody can hear me all right. So just give me a shout, if you will. If everybody can say yes, yes, that we're all good. I'm glad to hear it. Lots of good news today. Lots of good news this week. Just because we have we have some new Skaven information. So this is a little more Euro friendly time. But let's just get through some stuff. We're going to talk about the news. We're going to talk about exciting things going on. Audio is solid, very good. Everybody can hear me okay. As I said, I'm in a hotel room here, but thanks everybody for sticking with me. It's just me today. No Tom, no Tyler. So some news. Let's talk about it. Where are we going to start? Well, we're going to start with this little pricing update I've got over on the side. Of course, we're going to start with the bad news. GW with its now yearly update around pricing information. It said most countries will be between 3 and 5% of an increase on some kits. Okay. This is sort of what we've come to expect. I don't know what to say about it other than, okay, it is what it is. I think blaming it on sort of universal inflation there's probably some truth to that, but also it's based on the fact that they, are a shareholder company that has to keep delivering higher value to their shareholders. So it's not like they're going to decide to make less money. And the consumers are the ones that pay the price. So, is what it is as far as that goes. I don't have a lot to say on it other than to say it sucks. I don't like it when prices go up for Warhammer stuff, and I wish it would happen less. There you go. I have not much more to say on that one. Cool. Let's talk about happier news, though. Let's talk about this guy. Yes. Now this is what we have been waiting for. So new Giselle looks great. Like, obviously, we can scroll down here in a minute. We can look at the unit of them. I love these guys. I am very excited about these guys. Giselles have always been one of my favorite units. Sniper rifle rats is just like the coolest concept. They have a little bit of a new explanation to go along with their redesign as to how they're working and stuff like that, and that's fine. They're not just simple rifles anymore, but they have like a power pack, and they sort of use gas and stuff like that, and that's all fine. I do think that we've heard across the board that shooting is getting reduced in range and sort of probably will be more costly and all this kind of stuff. We've heard lots of back and forth about shooting. But I am interested to see how this plays out in the Skaven army. Going back quite a long way, there's, Skaven has always had a history of being able to be a shooting army. Skaven's a really interesting army to me because it has always had the ability to be both sort of a melee army and a shooting army or a mixed arms army based on kind of what units you leaned into. And I'm hoping that still is very much preserved. Just based on the little bit of the rules snippet we got from these guys, they seem pretty strong. We obviously didn't get their full war scroll, which I don't know why. But we did get the wound on a 3, 2 attacks, 2 damage each with Ren 2. I mean, that's an incredible profile, right? So 2 shots, something to hit, probably 4s based on the thing that's down below. And then, wounds on a 3 up, 2 rend, 2 damage. That's nothing bad. And that's without any other buffs that might be there. So traditionally, some of the engineers or other sorts of related things could buff things like Giselles or shooting armies. So, if those still exist, then these are certainly going to be quite a powerful unit, especially when it comes to things like the replacement for Unleash Hell command, the counter shot or whatever it is. They have the little warpstone snipers where if they didn't move and weren't set up, you add 1 to hit rolls for the attacks for the rest of the turn. Seems very cool to me. So I'm pretty excited about it. We'll see how it all works. Hey, what's up, Dino? How you doing? Hey, everybody in the chat. Hope you're all doing well. I mean, these new Jezzails look really great. Model wise, they look like a beautifully updated version of the original one, still completely in line and exactly what I would expect with them, but just great new design. Like, I cannot explain to you all how excited I am to get my hands on these new Skaven. Like, why isn't it happening tomorrow? This has been the longest period ever. But somebody asked if there were more versions of them. Yes, there are. There's some different options and kits. Like here you can see in this one the gun, but he has a slightly different backpack. And there you go, another version of that one. And there's the other guy with his different, the other guy with his different backpack. So you can kind of see that there is some difference between them. Different rifles. I know they showed some different options in the video as well. So, I mean, yes, beyond excited. My only real question is, am I going to completely replace everything I have? Am I going to integrate some of my older ones and repaint them? I don't know. I know I want to do a whole video series around my journey with new Skaven. I mean, I've repainted the entire army twice before, as I've collected it since 1997. So the question is, do I want to just do a totally new army? And I think the answer might be at first probably yes. But we'll see. We'll see. But this was great news. I loved seeing the Jezzails. Show us the rest of the Skaven, you cowards, I guess is what I would say. Which actually brings us to the next news. I assume we are going to see all of them here. The teasing has got to stop. You know what? I appreciate the marketing person. I really do appreciate the marketing person saying this, because I agree. Like I'm done with all the different teases. I just want the details. I want the meat. I want to see everything. And so they said the time has come to show you absolutely everything coming in the packed launch box for the new edition. So join us live for the Mortal Realms Reforged preview, Thursday, the 16th of May at 7 p.m. Central Time. So 8 p.m. Eastern, 1 a.m. British Standard Time, 2 p.m. or 2 a.m. in the rest of Europe, I guess. I don't know. So at any rate, very excited for this. This is next week, obviously. And I very much expect we will be doing a show. We have another normal Warhammer Weekly between now and then. We'll do that, of course. But then I expect there may be a bit of a pickup show after that. So, stay tuned. We'll probably do myself and Tom or somebody. I'll rope someone into it. Maybe it'll just be me again, just like this, doing a reaction show. But I'll be back at home next week, and I very much plan on doing a reaction show to seeing all the models. Like, I am beyond excited. So let's go. Let's go. That's pretty much what I'd say about that there. Couple other news items unrelated directly to Games Workshop. So the tickets are now up for TMX, that is Uncle Adam's convention. It's happening at the beginning of June, about a month from now. I think it's June 3rd and 4th, if memory serves. It happens in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. So if you're anywhere in that area and would love to come hang out, you can do so. Myself and Zambies and Sam Lenz will all be teaching classes there, painting classes. So you can also sign up for those there. We will be playing demos of our newest game at TMX. It will release before TMX, though I'm not going to tell you when just yet, but it will release before TMX. So we are less than a month away from our new release. And so we'll have the game there. We will have it available for purchase. We will have demos running of it, all that kind of stuff. and it's going to be really exciting. So painting classes, demos of that game and all our existing games, lots of other games to play and try at TMX. It's a very fun time at in Oshkosh. So I'll be there. Very much looking forward to it. Hope you'll come join us if you're available there. Califax said, "Are you going to be at Gen Con?" Yes, I sure am. I will be at Gen Con. I am teaching 2 classes at Gen Con. I don't remember exactly when the events list or the events go live for purchase, but yes, you can find me in there. I'm teaching 2 classes at Gen Con as well. Very much looking forward to Gen Con this year, mostly because I'm excited to see all the new D&D next stuff, or whatever we want to call it, because obviously the new Player's Handbook releases not too long after that, so I assume they'll have cool stuff there. Can I follow GW's example and tease a little something for the new game? Janice, I'm so glad you asked. Yes, if you stick around till the end of the show, I am going to tease something decently significant for the new game. So absolutely. Goatman999, next Old World show. It'll be happening. I don't know when exactly. I've got to line up my Old World guests, but yes, we're going to absolutely do. We're absolutely going to do that. Okay, so yeah, that's where we are. One other bit of news related to this show specifically. By the way, the link for TMX and everything, I'll put it down in the description, so you can go check that out if you want to buy tickets, buy painting class tickets, that kind of thing. If you're for this, a little bit of news for this show, the Tyler has started some new work and is very busy and has been caught up in a lot of family stuff and work stuff. So he's going to be stepping away from the show as a co-host for a little while. I'm figuring out what we're going to do to cover him. He will be back. He just needs some time to basically get some life stuff arranged, which is totally understandable and acceptable and no problem at all. Complete respect for that. So in the interim period, I'm going to look at seeing it, who else we can have on in those weeks, because Tom will still be every other week as normal. And then in those interim weeks, I'll probably have some other folks jump in. I'll probably do a daily show style rotating co-hosts or something like that. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But stay tuned. More of that and more on that as it sort of happens. But I will miss Tyler very much and his particular brand of insights and thoughtfulness and all of that. But like I said, he'll be back. Okay. So no worries. It's just a step away, not a step away forever. And that happens. We all sometimes unfortunately have, real life, especially family stuff, come up and get in the way of the hobby. I mean, it shouldn't. What a ripoff. Like, what we all want is obviously our the hobby to be preeminent, but that darn real life, it just happens. Okay. So, yep, I agree, Ghost Mutton. We will miss him. I see a couple votes for Ninjon as the co-host. Yeah, I'm sure I'll beat John up into coming on the show at some point. I would love to have Haywo on as a co-host regularly. I really would. I'd bring him on in a heartbeat. My guess is he's often quite busy, and I don't know that he would have the time to join me, every other week. But boy, oh boy, I would really love to have Haywo as just a regular contributor. Haywo is one of those people that about 5 minutes after I first started talking to him, I realized we had like all of the same interests and life experiences and sort of just like cultural touch points. And I was like, oh, we're going to be fast friends. So, that guy is just one of my favorite people in the world. I know he just has a lot of work. He's very busy. So, plus he's trying to make, Haywo is trying to make his partner over on Twitch and such. So if you are not watching his streams, go do it. Go check it out. Let's all help Haywo get partner. I think that would be awesome. Absolutely, the Owen Jackson for co-host. Yeah, it might be a little problematic to have somebody on BST be my regular co-host unless they don't mind being up at 2 or 3 in the morning regularly. Okay. So There we go. Um, that's sort of the news on that. But like I said, the show will absolutely go on as it has through all sorts of changes and times and stuff like that. So no worries. And especially now, as we find ourselves on the precipice of one of the most exciting times, I think, in the history of AOS, I really don't have any worries about finding people who want to come on and talk about Age of Sigmar. So I think it's going to be a good chance to get some new voices and fresh faces on the show as well. So I look at the silver lining, look at the upside, and maybe we'll even occasionally have Tyler on, but as a guest. Like we can do that. We can do that. All right. So that's everything there. I'm not going to go through sort of all of my normal segments and that kind of stuff as far as hobby time because I have nothing to show you being in a hotel. We'll catch up with that next week. And picks of the week, like I guess I already gave you one, which was Hey Whoa. Go check him out. I'll put that down below. And TMX, which is go sign up. What I wanted to do today in detail was kind of talk about the sort of 2 news articles we had that came out for AOS 4 and kind of get into detail on those. I thought that would be interesting because one of these I honestly don't care about at all, but I thought maybe someone here did. And I'm just kind of interested to get feedback from folks. And one of these, oh boy, excuse me, I'm so sorry. One of these I am very excited about in what it means, and it just continues to hype up my excitement for Spearhead. Okay, let's get to the actual news. What's the sort of big AOS news that was released so far this week? Just invite random guys from the chat. Yeah, I don't know how that's going to work out. But an interesting idea. All right, let's talk about this one first, which is the Path to Glory article. My first question for you with people in the chat, if you're not deaf from me sneezing, I tried to turn my head away. I apologize. My first question to those who are still with me and didn't just immediately get their headphones blown out is... do you play Path to Glory? Have you played Path to Glory at all? Do you play it regularly now? I am legitimately interested. By the way, if you're watching this in the future, put it down in the comments. I want to know. Also, while you're typing in chat, if you haven't hit like or subscribed or done those things yet, hey, do that too. Your mouse is like so close. It's like right there. You've got to move right over the top of it to talk in the chat. So, go for it. But what I want to know is, I just want to know, like, do you play it at all? Have you played it at all? Is it something you regularly engage in? Is it something and if you haven't played it, is it something you're interested in? I just want to get a sense of my audience and whether or not that's something that people are interested in. I'm so fascinated by Path to Glory as like a thing because it just holds the opposite of interest for me. Like I'm very excited for Spearhead, but I'm just not excited at all for Path to Glory. But I know there's got to be people out there who are. And yeah, I'm interested. I'm interested. Okay. Yeah, that's Jordan W says, I love the idea of Path to Glory, but it feels like a bear to get it to actually work since you need to have a group of people to stop playing match play. Yeah, that's kind of always been my challenge as well. Okay. A lot of people who said we're interested in it. Okay, got it. Switched over. Got a couple people who are regularly playing Path to Glory as their normal thing. Okay. Wasn't fun after a few games. All right, fair enough. Okay. Ghost Mutton, sounds like maybe you're in my camp of like being more interested in Spearhead than in Path to Glory. So yeah. Justin Jory says we do a Path to Glory campaign like once a year, lasts a few weeks. All right. Okay. Very good. Okay. Love the narrative concept, but intimidated by all the extra rules. Yeah, I get that, Chris. I completely get that. Yeah, okay. Oh, TP Grant says, I've played a little and I'm interested in good narrative gaming. Hey, I know you are. You and I both. That's what's funny about it. I actually really like narrative gaming. It's just Path to Glory's never grabbed me. But I find it often not what I want to, not what it should be, and Path to Glory seems focused on the wrong things. Okay. Yeah, cool. Yeah, I mean, that's what's funny. Like, I mean, I've played RPGs much longer than I've done anything else. Like I started playing D&D in 1989. I mean, I've been a fan of RPGs for basically my entire sort of existence, as it were. You know, I read The Hobbit and I read Lord of the Rings, and I was like, then I walked into Walden Books and I saw that whole wall of super cool looking fantasy adventures and books and stuff like that. And I just asked the person, what am I supposed to buy to play this? And then I bought the books and tried to figure out how to play it and played it wrong for years until I met other people who played it. But, you know, like I love RPGs. I have a regular weekly D&D game. And yet, this thing has never interested me. But anyways, okay. HC Tim says Spearhead is going to slap. I'm with you. Yeah, I'm here for it. Okay, the Terrier says the extra rules was just stuff we forgot to use while playing. Not enough emergent storytelling in games either. Maybe the twist will help. Well, let's talk about it. So, new Path to Glory. Since the first edition of Age of Sigmar, Path to Glory has been in the middle of the match play section, annoying match play players to no end. I'm sorry, is that not what the text says? Truly, the thing I disliked about Path to Glory was that they stuck it right in the middle of my match play section. Just put it before that. That's all I wanted. So, in the current edition, Path to Glory rules focus on empire building with rules for conquering territories and building outposts. This tied into the overarching narrative of the edition, which saw the first Dawnbringer Crusades leave the cities on a mission to reclaim the realms. You know, if we talk about that for a moment, like that's been the concept of Path to Glory for the whole time. And when they launched AOS 3.0, they said it was going to be about the Dawnbringer Crusades, and they showed us that amazing art of everyone, you know, marching out and stuff like that. And then we didn't really get into any of that until basically the end of last year. It's just so weird that we had a same to you, Danny. It's so weird that we had that as sort of the primary thrust, and like, yeah, there was little bits of it scattered here and there throughout the individual battle tomes, but I just wish they'd take those narrative books and scatter them over the edition, so it felt like there was actually a narrative like arc happening to the edition, as opposed to like, here's a bunch of battle tomes, now all of a sudden here's a bunch of narrative and the edition's over. Like I don't like the way it stacks. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. In the new edition, Path to Glory is returning to its roots in the core book with Path to Glory Ascension, which focuses on your warlord and their retinue. Okay, cool. So we've got a ranks and paths system here, right? Basically your when your units earn renown points and stuff, they go up in ranks, and then you'll choose a path. That's fine. Your warlord starts out already rank 1, so he can already pick a path. So there are 6 paths in total, 4 for your heroes and 2 for every other unit. Fair enough. And then they give a couple examples here through the path of the warrior and the path of the defender. I think this is interesting design. So for those of you who are in the audience who've been to a Holy Havoc event run by Steve Herner out of Chicago, there's long been the concept of a warlord, and it's an extra model and that kind of thing. And you know, Steve has a great system. Myself and Tom worked with Steve and Reed and the Holy Council to sort of redefine with this last Holy Havoc a lot of how the warlord worked. But we've always had the ideas of sort of paths and going through that. And with this last one, this build and I'm not taking any credit for this, I'm just saying like it's sort of a great minds think alike, I guess, or something, or average minds think alike, I don't know. Our sort of system that we introduced in the most recent Holy Havoc is very similar to this, in that you pick a path of the something like warrior or you know, we have similar sorts of things, and then there's a branching series of upgrades you can take, abilities and things like that. So definitely this feels very familiar. And yeah, so each path is composed of a branching set of abilities that a unit can acquire over the course of the campaign. Every time a unit gains a rank, you pick one from a choice of 2 to reflect the growing prowess of your warriors. And so, you know, priests on the path of the devout can become so favored by their gods that they unlock the powerful resurrection ability, a whole new divine protection. So here's actually one of those. Make a chanting roll of a d6. I would note it casts on a 7, so you cannot, without bonuses of some kind, cast it by default on the first time it rips off. You have to kind of build up your chanting points or whatever. And you pick a friendly infantry hero that has been slain and return them to the battlefield wholly within 3 inches of this priest. Yeah, okay, cool. That's neat. Neat to bring people back, I suppose. Heroes back, that's a pretty rare thing. So outside of a few specific heroes who have this ability, like what's his name in Korn, or what is it, Kritza in the Soulblight Gravelords, who does this trick, you know, that kind of thing. Otherwise pretty rare. Brian says, my first thought on seeing this article was that GW was adopting a Holy Wars or Realms at War style Warlord. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it very much feels like the most recent design we did for Holy Havoc. So, and that's cool. I like that system. So I'm not opposed to it. I still don't know if this is like actually a thing I would play, but it's interesting. And yeah, Ghost Mutton says at least it seems simpler than previous iterations. I agree. I do agree. I feel like some of the previous iterations really had like too much going on. A lot of narrative in games is best when it's sort of emergent storytelling, where based on kind of what happens in the game, the story just shapes itself. You don't want to tie everything completely to that, because then sometimes you can create like spirals where people who suffer losses or deaths or stuff like that at the table can just like get caught in this kind of this vicious cycle. But nonetheless, I think that, you know, a lighter touch and letting people engage with more optionality to just let the emergent storytelling work, I think is kind of the way to go. Okay. Then the aforementioned twists and turns. Path to Glory Ascension doesn't use battle tactics. Hey, I mean, that's a point in its favor. Let me just say that. But, you know, instead provide 6 narrative battle plans, including returning favorites and brand new scenarios. In both cases, the Warhammer Studio have made significant improvements to the battle plans that not only enhance the narrative of the battle, but also ensure nail-biting finishes. Like, okay, we'll see, but all right. The driving force behind this dynamic is the inclusion of a twist table on every battle plan, introducing dramatic and unpredictable shifts at each battle round that leverage the new underdog mechanic to great effect. For example, the Ritual, a favorite of narrative players, returns with the twist table that gives the underdog a number of ways to chip away the winner's lead. So here we have battle plan, the Ritual, twists, and we can see the 3 different twists here. And, you know, like you get to pick a unit, make it strike last, or add to a unit's control score, or so on and so forth. Cause some damage to a unit and so on. You know, this is fine. Again, you know, there's these sorts of twists we've talked about in Spearhead. And so, I mean, I like this conceptually. The fact that these are battle plan specific, I think is actually a good design. But there's a lot of devil in the details here. So we'll see. Thetanist says, I'm even less interested in this Path to Glory than Third's version. This feels much more try to play an RPG while you play AOS. I'll just play D&D for that. Yeah. I mean, this is always the challenge, right? Like if I really want to have a character and play a character, honestly, I would rather play D&D. I like my D&D characters that I'm playing right now in my games. I'm having fun with them. So, you know, don't know that I'm looking to have the narrative experience of whoever's in charge of my Warhammer army, but that's fine. And then lastly, the Anvil of Apotheosis. We'll be getting into more detail on these when the time comes. We confirm that each battle tome will build on the path system by including unique paths tailored to your faction, and each one will also include its very own unique Anvil of Apotheosis, so you can create your own custom characters. I mean, the Anvil was very popular when it was out, so that's fine. I have no problem with it being here, and, you know, having this formulation of it in Path to Glory seems okay. And, you know, my answer is, let's see what happens, I guess. My particular feeling on this is I don't think it's going to really change, my perception or interest or anything like that in Path to Glory for me. I will excitedly look at all of the heroes. There will be, a couple weird events, I'm sure, that allow people to use like their Anvil of Apotheosis heroes in the event, not tournament event. And that stuff all sounds fun. I like increased choices and ways for people to engage with the game. I'm never against anything like this. Please just get it the heck out of the middle of my match play section. Like, let's just have Path to Glory be its own section, give it the respect it deserves, put it in a section so people can look at it. And, we'll go from there. I think that ultimately, I'll be interested to see for you Path to Glory enthusiasts. I will be interested to see what you think about this, and is this the best version? Are you having a good time with it, and so on. So it just isn't the kind of thing my group is generally into, so probably there. But with that, let's leave some Path to Glory behind. Cyrus, you're not alone. It's the same for me, man. It's the same for me. But let's leave this behind and head on over to something I found very exciting, very, very exciting, which is the battle tactics and commands for Spearhead. Okay. Here we go. So, of course, this came out like the day after we did our show last week when we were talking about this a bunch. But, I'll tell you right now, I've read this article and, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Steven said next week we'll be revealing another model from the AOS launch set. Yeah, they are revealing the whole thing. So, there you go. This article genuinely got me excited. Because folks, I'm going to give you the spoiler right now. I think this battle tactic format might be better than what we have in the regular game. I'm just going to say it. As we go through this, I will be very interested for all of your feedback and whether you sort of feel the same. So we'll see. Okay. So, yep, here's some different spearheads, so that's fine. Okay, so here we go. Battle tactics and commands. Scoring in Spearhead is simple. At the end of their turn, a player scores 1 victory point for holding an objective, 1 for holding 2 or more objectives, and 1 for holding more objectives than their opponent. Okay, got it. So far, very simple. Understood? No problem. That's our objective scoring. And they've mentioned that the boards they're going to have already have the objectives and stuff on them. We know that like the objectives have some names and stuff, and so okay, great. And 1 for each battle tactic scored. Because Spearhead doesn't use any advanced rules modules, and we talked about that before when we saw how they're implementing spells, including battle tactics or commands, you'll instead use a unique deck of battle tactics cards. Each player gets a deck of 12 cards, and at the start of each battle round, you draw 3 battle tactic cards. At the start of each subsequent battle round, you can discard any number of cards face up before drawing back up to 3, with one important distinction we'll get to later. Okay, which is going to be the double turn thing. So you've got your deck of 12 cards. The first battle round, you draw 3, and then in every subsequent battle round, you can choose to discard any of them and go back up and draw back up to 3. All right, simple enough. Many systems like this have existed in a horde of games. If I'm sure we've all played games that have this kind of draw and draw back up type of thing. All right, great. No problem so far. Every card gives you the choice between scoring a battle tactic or using a powerful command. This turns each card into a tactical choice. Will you use your command that can help you score objectives and enhance your forces and put an opponent to the sword, or will you attempt to secure victory by completing the battle tactic instead? You can score all 3 battle tactics in your hand in a single turn, but as soon as you use the command or score the tactic, the card is discarded. So it's mutually exclusive. Got it. Okay. No problem. Totally with it. So let's look at the 2 examples here. So we've got Take the Flanks and the Dracothian Dais. I assume that just like the 5 objectives are all labeled in some way, like they have this picture on them or something. So that's what this is talking about. But at any rate, let's look at Take the Flanks. You complete this battle tactic at the end of your turn if there are any friendly units within 3 inches of each short battlefield edge. So very tight range. But at the same time, It's a small board, it's a Warcry board, so it's pretty easy to get to the edges. So you got to have a unit just within, not wholly within, just getting to those edges. Okay, simple enough battle tactic theoretically. I mean, how exactly you're going to deploy on the Warcry board will influence that a lot. Like if you have a diagonal deployment across the space, then getting to the other short edge could be a problem. So that's fine. Um, uh, but then we can also use the command enemy movement phase redeploy. So we all know redeploy from the normal commands, and you can move up to d6 inches, right? Okay, fine enough. Like, got it. And then the other one is you complete this battle tactic if you control the Dracothian objective at the end of your turn. And then the battle tactic is go to ground, where pick a unit, used by a friendly unit targeted by that shoot ability, and then effect until the end of the phase only unmodified hit rolls of 6 successfully hit for attacks that target that unit. However, that unit has strike last this turn. So that's obviously a crazy powerful command, right? Because if you have a unit that you don't think is going to be in combat that round, but is getting shot by something, there's plenty of shooting units in the Spearhead boxes. They just showed like the Lumineth one and the Tzeentch one and the Skaven one. They all have shooting units in them. So, if you're taking control of, or if you're getting shot at, and all of a sudden you're being like, you can only hit me on 6s, that you've basically nullified that shooting attack. So that's pretty good. So I think there's going to be real tension here between using the commands and actually scoring the battle tactics. And, just sort of reading over this, I can imagine in my mind the kind of triage process I would go through at the start of the round. So, like, I'm going to walk you through how I'm thinking about this in my head, and you can all tell me if you're thinking about it the same way. Like, I start my turn. Let's assume I have no cards in hand just for simplicity's sake. So I draw up to 3. Like, I used all of them last turn in some way or another. I draw up to 3. I'm going to look at the 3 of them, and the first thing I'm going to say to myself is, okay, which of these 3 battle tactics can I actually achieve this round based on, my forces, where they're at, where the enemy is, and so on. Like, if I'm kind of castled up or stuck in the corner on one side, or if the game is shifted and now we're like long edge to long edge, and I don't have any fly units or teleporting units or something, then, and I get this take the flanks, I'm going to be like, okay, nope, not doing that one this round. Like, I'm just going to write them off, right? And put those in the mental pile of, those are just commands. I've drawn the command, the battle tactic is impossible. In other words, so triage step 1 is the battle tactic actually possible, right? Given the forces, this battle situation that I have. If no, then it's just a command, set it over here in that pile, right? Then I have the ones that I absolutely can achieve easily. So, like, let's say I already own the Dracothian objective, right? Like, let's say I'm like, assumingly that's one of the ones printed on the map, and I happen to be occupying it right now, and most of my army is surrounding it, so I know I can hold it and take it or whatever. So, like, easy peasy, it's an automatic score, right? Just because of, like, I drew it and that's how the battle happened to work out. Okay, triage step 2 is I sort it over here into the definitely a battle tactic pile, right? Okay, boop, boop. So now I got my 2 piles. And then whatever's left is my stretch goals, right? And, like, where if I think I could possibly achieve the battle tactic, maybe I'll go for it, but I'll keep it as an option in case I need the command, right? And so I think that's the only time you're actually making the decision. I think for the most part, you'll kind of split them out into those, like, definitely a battle tactic, definitely a command thing. And then, then what's in the middle is where you're actually making a decision, which sounds fun. I really like this. I love the random deck. I love that the commands are here and the battle tactics here. And it kind of, I like the randomness of it, though I'm sure some people don't. Like, I bet there's some people who don't like the random nature of this, namely, like, Spike type people probably don't like the random nature of this. But, we'll see. Janice said, I was wondering about that as well. Will it be cardboard terrain or plastic, or is the dual Spearhead box some other product? I'm certainly guessing we're talking about standard plastic terrain. I don't think you're going to see GW doing cardboard terrain or anything like that anymore. Like it'll be a sprue or two of terrain, is my guess. Probably not that large because it's only for a Warcry board, and you are fitting like 2 whole spearheads on that Warcry board. So, there's already a lot of stuff on that board. So they probably just need like, a couple pieces of bigger terrain and a couple pieces of small kind of scatterish type terrain. But I really like the random. I like this. I think this is a really good system. Like my first thought when I read this was, oh, why isn't this the system for just regular AOS? Or alternatively, why isn't this an option for regular AOS? And I think if you wanted to use it for regular AOS, you'd have to like shut off all but a few command abilities probably, because the chances are, like, I mean, if redeploy exists on one of these cards and there's 10 other cards we haven't seen here, then assumingly some of the other things that are normal commands probably also exist. So I don't know what you'd do. Like you could rip out the entire command module out of full scale AOS, like just say there's no command points and there's no um, commands. You can only use what's on the cards, or you could kind of like partially gut it and say you get these as bonus or something, or using them costs a point. Like I don't know. I have to think about it. Um, but because it's not a direct lift and shift. But I'll say, for me, and maybe it's just me, I like this better than what we were given with regular AOS. Honest answer. I think this is a cooler, more compelling system. I like the variability of it, that kind of thing. But I want to know what you think. So again, drop in the comments now, or if you're watching this later on, is this something you'd be interested in doing? Would you try a game where you just like jettisoned command points and command abilities and just drew from the deck of cards instead over the course of the game? Is that interesting to you? One challenge here, I suppose, is that there's only 12 cards in the deck, which at potentially 3 a turn, that only has 4 battle rounds, because Spearhead's only a 4-round game, whereas you need 5 battle rounds for you need 5 battle rounds for a regular game. That's interesting. Threnodist, who said trade cards in for a CP. Huh. Okay. That's interesting. That's interesting. Like the idea of it's not like you do directly what's on the card. It's more like you trade, like you cash in the card for a CP, which you can then use for any of your normal command abilities. That's a really interesting idea, Threnodist. Okay. That's kind of fun. Yeah, okay. I bet there's a bunch of different takes on this we could do. Um, so I'll be interested to see what people come up with. I bet people are going to try a lot of different variability, like, oh, you get 1 command point base and then you can turn in cards for 1 more to use any command thing, or so on and so forth. So yeah, it's interesting. I hope they kind of make different tactic card packs available over time for Spearhead. I think that would be fun too. Like, we've got the twist deck or whatever, and we've got this battle tactic deck. I hope that over time, they publish some alternative decks or something like that. So, yeah. Germ says that they hate random. Yeah, I get it. Like that's, as I said, I know that kind of randomness isn't for everyone. And so that's why I wish there was just like an option of using one of these 2 systems. Warhammer's always been really against this kind of thing, where you have options in your systems where it's like, okay, you can either use system A or system B, but when you make modular systems, that's actually a huge advantage, because then a tournament can just go for the standard locked format thing, sort of battle tactics as they always been, and that's fine. But then there's already a ready lift and shift replacement to go into that spot. This is something a lot of role-playing games have done for just years and years and years and years, where they've had, optional systems you can choose to slot in a modular way, use A or B. And I don't know, people who've played role-playing games that I play with don't seem to mind them. It just means they get to play the game the way they want. And it's locked in. It's not as though it's just a do whatever you want thing. It's just use system A or system B. So TOs are people who don't like randomness, like Germ mentioned. You've got a standard system that's good for you. People like me who like this more variable system and find this more compelling would have the way we want to play. And TOs can do whichever one they want, but they're still using, not just making crap up, it's still using standardized modules that are meant to be in that place, in that space, playing in that way. So my personal take on it, I kind of, every edition we get new ideas and then we have to explore it and we kind of figure it out over time. I look forward to what them really cracking the code and figuring out the underdog mechanic in 5th edition, or whatever battle tactics look like then, or whatever. Like they always will find new clever ideas, but then not really know the space, the sort of game design space of what they could do with it until they've designed with it for a while, and that's just pretty standard. Okay. For example, take the flanks, blah, blah, blah. All right, so here's 2 more. All right, so 2 more are raid. You complete this battle tactic at the end of your turn if any friendly units are wholly within enemy territory and not in combat, so that's fine. And then the command here on the back one of this one is a reaction. Opponent declared an attack ability, steal defense, which is a friendly unit targeted by an attack ability. Ignore the rend characteristic of attacks that target that unit. Very powerful. Like, these are really powerful commands. And, like, it's obvious why they don't exist in the normal game, where you would have these things online at will to do multiple times around, because it would just be spending CP. And I think that's an interesting design point to make. The medium is the message. What I mean by that is, when you're designing random things like this, you can actually make more powerful abilities that you can't do if those same things are part of an on-demand choice system. So, because like steal defense is, given if you're getting attacked by somebody with no rend, it's actually worse. But in many cases, it's going to be better than all-out defense, right? So if they're rend 1, it's effectively all-out defense. But if they're rend higher than 1 in any way, which are the units that you're actually afraid of, steal defense is way better, right? So if you're fighting rend 2, rend 3 units, and you just get to flat out ignore the rend. So you can have this more powerful ability because you can't rely on it being present at any given point in time, right? You're going to get to use it once a game and then it's discarded. Whereas if that's a thing I can do, every single time, then all of a sudden it skews the game instantly. Okay, so that's the point I'm making. The randomness doesn't just have the advantage of being different to interact with, which is true in your choice points and things like that. It has a difference in quality of what you can create in that system. So yeah, and yes, Marshall McLuhan. Yes, everything around that is fantastic. I think about the medium as a message a lot, especially as I'm sitting here doing, this video podcast with all of you, and the way we talk about stuff, and the fact that I can interact with you and read your comment, which makes this different than doing a television show or something, right? Okay. Anywho, hold ground. You complete this battle tactic at the end of your turn if there are more friendly models contesting the large terrain feature. That's hence why I said I think the box will just be like 2 big pieces of terrain and 2 small pieces of terrain, or something like that. Because if it's the large terrain feature, that tells me there's like 1 on each side of the board. The large terrain feature in your territory, then there are enemy models contesting it. Okay, fine. Yeah, that's right. Sean says when you don't know what your battle tactics will be, you can't spam. Yeah, exactly. The flip side of this one is rise to the challenge. So pick a friendly hero to use this ability. Heal D6 that hero. again, these giant heals, right? Doesn't have to be, that's happening in the combat phase, which is wild. That is a wild timing for that healing. Big healing. So, they're shooting you in their turn. They almost kill your guy, charge your guy, boom, you pop off, rise to the challenge, heal D6 that hero, you're back up to full wounds. So, just really cool stuff. I do like the variability that we can get here with the randomness. So that's fun. These are really cool. I'm very excited for this, and I think that if they do, by the way, publish, one of the ways that this might be able to be done, because I mentioned there's only 12 cards, you draw 3 around, sort of challenges in a normal match play game. But if they end up publishing secondary or tertiary packs of these cards, then you could just kind of shuffle together and make a deck of 15 for your normal game, which is actually pretty fascinating to me. So we'll see. I am so legitimately interested if people are going to be more attracted to this system, because I think a lot of people are going to give Spearhead a try. And I've seen a lot of people in my comments asking, how can I have so much hope for Spearhead when, they say like Crusade or Combat Patrol, or I don't know, whatever the I guess Crusade is Path to Glory. Combat Patrol is the Spearhead equivalent. Yeah, that sounds right. Okay. When that wasn't very good or well received. And my answer is because it's completely different people writing the rules. Like, I trust Matt and the AOS team because I think it's a good team. And I think they've invested a lot of time and energy and research and user acceptance testing into this to make it good. And everything I've seen about it is positive and looks like it's well thought out, and well executed. I look at stuff like the way that they had the spearheads working, where it's like this unit gets to regen itself if it dies, and versus this unit is held back and doesn't show up till round 3 of a 4-round game. That just shows a lot of deep thought going into this game mode, that makes me think, yes, this is going to be really fun. So I think a lot of people are going to give it a try, and as they do so, what's going to be the reception to this? Like, are people going to play with these battle tactics and this battle tactic command format and then go to the normal game and be like, oh, I like this less, I want to go back to the deck, right? I just really wonder if that's going to happen, because this feels really compelling to me. But again, that's only me in my own head, So it sounds like there's some good hope in the chat as well. So yeah, what I'll ask is, are you excited for this battle tactic system? That's what I'll ask. Drop it in the chat for me now. I want to know what you think. Okay. And so then again, just explaining that. Then we get here to the twists and underdogs. Okay, so let's talk a little about this part. The battle tactic thing was what I was really excited for. I'm not gonna lie, because just like it legitimately feels like a better, more exciting system than the one that's in regular full scale AOS. All right, twists and underdogs. The priority roll and underdog mechanics are both alive and well in Spearhead, adding more tactical layers to the game. Because Spearhead is a game of hard-fought, nail-biting battles with tense finishes, seizing the initiative from a priority roll comes with a sting in the tail. You won't be able to draw any battle tactics cards unless you are the underdog, and the difference in victory points is 5 or greater. So you have to be really losing, basically. And let me actually say something here that I really like, that again shows this is well thought out. It's not just being the underdog. One of my concerns in full AOS is we might be over rewarding the underdog. Like, I'm kind of concerned, and I mean, we'll see as time goes on. Maybe my concern is ill-founded. But part of my concern with the underdog is, like, you're playing someone, and if you look at the board state, they're winning. Like, their units have been more successful at killing your units. But because of some idiosyncrasy, you happen to be ahead by 1 point, right? So the score is like 11 to 12, or I don't know, something like that, right? And all of a sudden it rolls to their turn, or this round, and they're down 1 point. And they're just getting like a heap of advantages because they're the underdog, theoretically, being down by only 1 point, right? Like that feels like a, I don't know, like again, we've had the potential for sandbagging discussion here. But, and so I don't know how it's going to play out in regular AOS, but I will say I have my concerns. I have my concerns. I'll leave it there for full scale AOS. But what I really love here is that they said, if you double turn, you don't get to draw new cards, which maybe you still have something you can score if you're sitting on your cards from last turn. It could depend. But definitely not drawing cards for a round is clearly a huge cost, right? And unless you're the underdog and you're down by at least 5 points, right? Yeah, Janice, that's effectively what I mean. Like, you mean an army that is stronger in the later phases unbalances the underdog mechanic. Not just that. Sure, there are armies that are better in the late game. So, like, they might be down by a point, but they're meant to play long games. So, like, the fact that they're down by a point isn't actually representative of anything. They're turning into their strength. Like, they have a slow start but a strong finish. There are armies like this. Versus an army with, like, a super strong start but a weak finish. So, traditionally, Sons of Behemoth has been this. Like, you race out, you stand on the objectives, you hold everything, and they race you. Can they kill you fast enough before, before all your giants are dead, right? And so, like restaurants, restaurants. Good night. Thinking about food, like this article, the armies will traditionally have like a strong to or a weak to strong or a strong to weak thing. They can often have that. It's not all armies are like that. But in addition, sometimes you could just be playing and, your opponent could be in like a much stronger board place. They could have focused more in turn one on killing your key units and not and like hence missed the hold one, hold two, hold more. So they're just like down by a small point, right? But yet they get all the benefits of being the underdog. Okay. Anyways, in Spearhead, that's clearly not going to be the case because 5 points or greater is like a really significant amount to be down when you think about the scoring here, right? Because the scoring is basically a max of 6 points around. One for hold one for hold two, one for hold more, and then 1, 2, 3 battle tactic. And I think it's pretty rare, based on everything we've read so far, that you're actually going to score 6 points in a round. I think most of the time, one or two of the battle tactics will just be undoable for you and will become commands, right? Like you draw the Dracothian objective one and the entire enemy army is standing on the Dracothian objective. You ain't getting that objective, right? Like you're not going to, it's just not going to happen. So I think it will often be the case that you score, probably one or two of them and just use the other ones as commands. So getting down by 5 points means you're really, really down. And I like that in that case, if you get into the double turn, now it actually is a real catch-up mechanic. That's actually really cool. So I think that's actually, like, again, everything I read here tells me they thought about this very deeply in Spearhead. So we'll see. Yeah, so that's just that thing. And then we get a couple of the twists. So here they mention that it's Gairan versus Akshi twists because the board is two-sided. So okay, fine. The Gairan side here, Grasping Vines. The underdog picks an enemy unit on the battlefield. If there is no underdog, the players roll off, and the winner picks an enemy unit on the battlefield. The unit is ensnared until the end of the battle round. Have its move characteristic and roll one fewer dice when making charge rolls. Whoa, that's a big twist for one unit. And then take the land. Each player scores one extra victory point at the end of their turn if there are more friendly models contesting the large terrain feature in enemy territory than there are enemy models contesting it. In addition, the underdog adds 1 to wound rolls for attacks made by friendly units that target a unit contesting the large terrain feature. Yes, indeed. Yeah, Ghostman, what a twist. I mean, these are pretty significant. Like, these are not small bonuses. Like, great. Okay. I don't know what to think about these, not having seen the whole deck. But boy, those are strong, is what I'll say. So clearly being the underdog matters, or at least being tied and winning that roll off. I'm not sure what to think about the roll off thing happening sometimes, because boy does that just feel like you're gonna randomly sort of take it in the tailpipe for no reason. Like, oh, my unit gets slowed down because I just happened to roll poorly. This is one of the only things I've seen so far that didn't super excite me. I kind of hate random roll off things like this. Like, if it's meant to be an underdog mechanic, make it an underdog mechanic. Don't don't just throw a random roll on the top of it. I think that just ends up being a feel bad for someone. The game is relatively evenly paced, and then you just come up and whack one of the two players in the kneecaps for sort of no reason, because they didn't happen to roll higher on a d6. So that doesn't feel great, but that's really the only thing that I saw so far that didn't have me excited. Then we get a couple of the Oxy twists. Which is let the blood flow. Each player scores 1 extra victory point at the end of their turn for each enemy unit destroyed this turn. And in addition, if one of the players is the underdog, that player picks 1 friendly unit on the battlefield to be frenzied, add 1 to hit rolls for combat attacks made by that unit this battle round. See, that one I really like, because again, it's not hugely rewarding of the underdog, and both players get to score the extra victory points for destroying enemy units, so that's cool. The underdog just basically gets +1 to hit. I mean, certainly not bad. That's a great bonus. But the fact that both players can score, I like that one a lot. That one that had you randomly roll off, that I don't love. Yeah, I agree, Terrier. The underdog picks, and then Wreathed in Smoke, the underdog picks 1 objective on the battlefield. If there is no underdog, the players roll off. Again, the objective is Wreathed in Smoke until the end of the battle round. Only unmodified hit rolls of 6 successfully hit for attacks that target a unit contesting that objective, which means you're basically not getting pulled off of that objective, right? Like nobody's going to go attack you on that objective. You're immortal. So, there you go. Okay. Great. Good stuff. That's fine. And then that's it. That's the stuff. All in all, pretty excited about everything with Spearhead. I continue to be stoked. Literally the only thing I've seen about Spearhead that doesn't excite me is this weird roll-off thing. And that's such a minimal part of it. Like, they could even like make new cards in the future that don't have that random roll off, because assumingly like new seasons and new card packs will come and new twist packs and stuff like that. So I think this feels like a great modular system to expand. I'm excited for new battle tactic cards and twist cards and stuff like that as time goes on. I'm excited to play with these that we get to start with. So yeah, seems good to me. All in all, good things. All right. So the ultimately, I think Spearhead's going to look really cool, and I'm pretty stoked for it. I hope you all are as well. But my general statement right now is, yay Spearhead, Path to Glory, still not interested, but good try. And of course, new Skaven, put them in my hands right now. So stoked that we got to see the whole launch box next week. Can't wait to see the rest of the Skaven, and think about I gotta start thinking of my paint scheme soon. That's gonna be the biggest challenge. Swooper86 says, I predict new Spearhead terrain boxes in the future with their own decks. Oh, that's a cool idea, Swooper. I like that. Yeah, that'd be great. I'm fully supportive of that. That sounds like a great idea. Like, you get the board, you get some new terrain, you get some new decks, like new twist and battle tactics. Yeah, man. That's okay. Let's go. That sounds good. All in all, this is really good stuff. But hey, that brings us to the end. As I said, shorter show today. I'm in the hotel. I'm doing this on my lunch break. So thank you all for hanging out. If you haven't hit like yet, do that. Hit like. Do all those things. Support the hotel shows. I know it's never fun. Sorry for a shorter show, but thank you all for hanging out, for sticking here. I hope people enjoy the earlier show. So thank you all for being awesome. Thanks for all the good chat and sharing today. Hit like, hit subscribe, do all those things. We'll be back next week. We'll probably do a bonus show next week. Now, as promised, for those of you who stuck around, little spoiler for the upcoming game that Uncle Adam and I are about to release here in just a few weeks. Coming up very soon. And So my next spoiler, we've said dark fantasy. I've said that before. We've mentioned solo, co-op, skirmish. I've said all of that. So you can play against each other. You can play alone. You can play with your friends cooperatively. We've said all of that stuff. Now for your next spoiler, which is going to be the next spoiler is going to be undead, undead everywhere. So get excited. Expect for a little more teases here over the coming weeks. Adam and I are really, really excited about this one and bringing it to you. Stay tuned here for all the news on our upcoming game. This is going to be a big one, folks, and we're pretty stoked about it. But at any rate, thank you all for watching. If you want to support the channel, you can pick up one of our previous games. Those are all linked down in the comments below. Majestic 13, Space Station 0, Reign in Hell, all of our fun previous skirmish games, as well as Snarl, our yearly zine, are linked down below. You can check out our merch store. If you're going to pick up some new hobby stuff, maybe you're hobbying for AOS 4.0, right now getting your spearheads ready, you can use the affiliate links down there to pick up your hobby stuff. Doesn't cost you anything extra. In fact, it often saves you some money. And so, check those out. Gives a nice kickback to the channel. And of course, there's our Patreon focused on review and feedback and taking your next step on your hobby journey. As always, though, everybody, thank you so much for watching this middle of the day stream. I know it's an unusual time, but I really appreciate it. Maybe it's an end of the day stream, depending on where you are in the world, I suppose. But wherever you are, I hope you're having a great day. I hope you got some fun hobby in. And thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you next Wednesday.